Hi, so I wanted to introduce my friend, oh, pointing the wrong way, Ethan, who is the person who told me about the P90 and all of its benefits. And I mean, you've seen because I post testimonials in the group on a regular basis, how incredible this machine is and how it sort of stimulates blood circulation and therefore sort of speeds up healing in the body. Now, the expert on that is Ethan, and he's come to talk to you a bit more about the functionality, how it actually sort of affects the body, and what it can do for you. Ethan.
Okay, just for the record, the way you're pointing is not at me from my end. You're pointing away from me. It's really hard, isn't it? That's the best way of pointing
That's
on these.
right. I feel like
Okay,
it's
so
not funny like that though.
and he's there. Um, okay, so first of all, just because obviously it's on your page, people probably don't know me. I'm a holistic nutritionist. I've been in this space of natural healing for 30 odd years. I think it's a good idea before we get to what the P90 does. It's a good idea maybe to have a little discussion about the cause of all disease, because ultimately what we're attempting to do in natural health, which the doctors are not attempting to do, is we're attempting to fix the cause of a problem. And to fix the cause of a problem, you first of all have to know what the cause is. Now, medical doctors are typically trying to suppress symptoms without even attempting to understand the cause of those symptoms. And so that's why if you go to a medical doctor, they'll give you a drug that, takes away the pain, or, suppresses the blood sugar or the blood pressure or whatever it is, without any even beginnings of an attempt to understand the cause and fix that. Which is why typically when you go the medical route for chronic conditions, you're going to be on some sort of drug long term, often for life, because they're just dealing with symptoms, they're not fixing anything. So what we attempt to do in the holistic space is we try to fix stuff, right? The actual problem. Why is your body doing this weird, whatever it might be, right? And we try and fix it. And so the starting point for that, as I say, is understanding cause. And luckily, what makes it really simple is that pretty much everything has more or less the same cause, variations of the same cause. There's two, there's
two,
two,
two
two kind,
causes.
yeah, there's two
Toxicity,
prime
deficiency. That's it.
toxicity deficiency, exactly. And so one of the things that we can do to kind of highlight that might be, let me see if I can share my screen a minute, and if I can, let me just see. Oh, there, beautiful. Okay, so what this is a list of symptoms associated with certain toxins, some common toxins that are very, very abundant. First few on that list, I don't know if you can see here, but it's mercury is the first couple there. Mercury appears often here, and mercury is in many of our mouths. Okay, which is really not a good idea. But it's not just in our mouths, it's all over the place. So there are many, many toxins that we're being exposed to in our food, water, air, etc., which produce symptoms. I'm going to go through some of the symptoms in just a second. But the thing to notice is, or to ask yourself, how many times have you been to the doctors with symptoms such as, let's take this one, suicidal behavior, or sleep difficulties, or chronic fatigue, or anorexia, anxiety, nervous tendencies, ADHD, speech disorders, etc., etc. You can see this is, I'm not going to go through all the list, irritability, aggressive behavior, etc. You can pause and read all of this list. But the point that I make, when have you last gone with any of these problems and the doctor said, well, the first thing we need to look at is toxins? No, that pretty much never happens. Instead, they're just going to say, okay, you need to get on this drug or that drug or the other drug to suppress that symptom. Well, you may be successful to a degree with suppressing the symptom, but you haven't dealt with the cause if you've not removed the toxins. And if you haven't removed the toxins, you've still got the problem, and now you're just using a different drug to try and counteract it. And while that may feel good in the short term, it typically ends up being worse for you. And most people that begin on certain drugs, long-term drugs, they end up on another drug in order to deal with the symptoms created by the first lot of drugs.
Big
And
hint, you are not deficient in pharmaceuticals.
right, exactly. We're not, none of us deficient in aspirin or any of the other pharmaceuticals. Okay, so this, as I say, then is the cause. There's another list. I'm going to just flick to it some more. We've got lead here and arsenic and thallium, copper. There's a whole lot. We've got immunosuppression. That's a toxic problem in many, many cases. Cirrhosis of the liver. Okay. Oh, look, copper, not just alcohol. Although alcohol is a toxic if you have it in too much for your body to handle. So anyway, so I've just flicked on those two just so that you can pause it and go through some of those symptoms and begin to realize that toxins are the cause of just about any symptom that doctors give a disease label to. Okay, now if you really want to have fun, just do this Google search. Even Google works for this, and Google, for example, mercury toxicity symptoms, and start going through the list. And then you can do the same with lead or aluminum for my American friends. So just do that. You're going to see a massive list of symptoms. Now, if you realize that toxins cause all these symptoms, and then you also realize that these toxins are everywhere, and that's another little study that you can do. Where is mercury? Where is lead? You're going to find lead, for example, even in baby food. Okay, it is everywhere. It's funny, they banned lead paint and then they put it in our food. So anyway, so toxins that then are the prime cause of the symptoms that the doctors are labeling disease. It's very important that you understand that, because when you understand that, it empowers you to be able to do something about it rather than just take a drug, another toxin. All the pharmaceutical drugs are all toxic, all of them. So that's our starting point. We have to understand that the prime cause is toxicity. Now, I'm not going to go into it, I don't think. We'll see, because it's just an informal chat. But Hope mentioned that the second platform is deficiency. And again, you can go through all the list of nutrients, and if you put in a search again, even Google, put symptoms of magnesium deficiency, for example, and you can go through the nutrients. Right, and you're going to find another.
Drink my nutrients.
Right, that's one way that you can get nutrients through supplementation, and drinking it is an easy way. But so there's a massive list of symptoms associated with deficiencies in different nutrients, and what we find is that the nutrients that we need as human beings are very scarce in our food today. They're growing our food and processing our food in such a way as to make it very nutrient poor. So we have to eat 4, 5, 6 times more than we used to have to eat to get the same level of nutrients. And in some cases, those nutrients are missing altogether. And no matter how much we eat, we're not going to get it, especially plant foods. It's not so bad with meat because the animals need the nutrients or they're not going to be healthy, so they have to get the nutrients into the animals. So the meat tends to have more of the nutrients in, but many plants don't have the nutrients in them if they're not grown organically in minerally rich soil. All right, well, we're not going to...
And you can check that because the plants only need 3 minerals to grow. We need 60 every day to thrive, right? So that's a big discrepancy right there. Because they
use fertilizer for plants, NPK, that just has those 3 nutrients, and they forget the rest because the plants don't need them to the same. They actually do need them, but they don't need them to grow into a crop and what. They need them for better, for example, they have an immune system that can defend from fungi and different stuff, and they need the various nutrients for that. But what the farmers do is they don't bother giving them, and instead they use more chemicals to do the job of defending them from pests and fungus and all the rest of it. If they're minerally rich plants, they'll be much more robust and defend themselves from these kind of things. But anyway, so one of the problems of being toxic is that apart from the symptoms created by toxicity, it also blocks your ability to absorb nutrients. So you end up, even if you are having 100% of every nutrient you need, if you're toxic, you're not getting it. So if you're toxic, you will be deficient, even no matter what you're doing. Even if you're supplementing really well as well, you're just not going to be have all the nutrients that you need if you're toxic. So toxicity is the main platform, and deficiency sits on top of that platform. Okay, so that's the problem. If you're tired, if you have no energy, if you have chronic pain, if you have any kind of the symptoms on the list that we've just given, and there's a lot more, that's not an exhaustive list, that's just some of the more common ones. If you have any of these symptoms, then you can be sure you're toxic and deficient. And that combination, one or the other, both of them on their own, can give you the symptoms. Together, it's even worse. So that's the problem. Now, doctors don't understand this. Okay, doctors are not trained in nutrition. They're not trained in wellness. They're purely trained in what drugs do on sets of symptoms. Obviously, there's certain types of doctors that are surgery oriented rather than medication oriented. Okay, so that brings me to the question that Hope was asking me at the beginning of this, was to go into what does the P90 do? And some people are saying, oh, what is a P90? A P90, anyway, while I'm looking, I'll try and also talk at the same time. So P90 is a frequency device that uses a combination of terahertz, which is a frequency, and also it uses PEMF, which stands for pulsed electronic magnetic frequency. So it uses two sets of frequencies that between them are able to do some amazing stuff. Okay, so hopefully you can see right there, that's a P90. It looks kind of like weighing scales.
That's going to scare people off.
Yeah, some people are allergic to weighing scales, but it's good to know this one does not weigh you. Okay,
I stand on it, it's fine.
Yeah, just sit and put your feet on it. Then what it's going to do is it's going to send these frequencies up through your feet into your whole body. And it's going to do a number of different things. And I'm going to try and keep it simple. And not get too scientific or complex, but basically what it's going to do, it's going to increase your blood circulation is one of the things it's going to do. It's a key thing. It's going to increase your blood circulation. Now, why is that important? It's important because that addresses both the problems that we've just mentioned. Okay, the first thing that it does is it increases the blood flow into the cells, which means that you get more nutrients into your cells because it's the blood that carries the nutrients. Now, you still have to eat the nutrients, but it can only carry what's in it. Okay, but whatever you're eating, it's going to increase the percentage reaching your cells. Okay, so you get more nutrients into your cells by increasing your blood circulation. Some people have particularly poor circulation, where parts of their body are getting not much blood. Okay, and that will usually be the extremities, so like the feet, the hands. There's a famous blood issue that men sometimes have called ED. So you will know what that is, I'm sure, but it's all to do with blood circulation and lack of blood circulation. And so we need to get the blood everywhere in our body. And so the P90 is going to help to do that by increasing the blood circulation. And it does it very naturally, very easily. I could be on it now doing this while we're talking, just have my feet sat on it, and it would be working and increasing my blood circulation. So that's the first thing that it does, increase the blood circulation. Now, and the first the first benefit of that is increased nutrients into your cells. The second benefit of it is that there's something else very important to your cells, the lack of which is the direct cause of cancer, okay, and a lot of other problems. And that thing you all know about because it's called oxygen. Okay, so we need oxygen and we need it in our cells in order to metabolize and burn and make energy. Okay, so oxygen is what we use to make energy. And we all breathe to get oxygen into our cells, but a breath from one person doesn't necessarily equate to the same amount of oxygen as a breath from another person, depending on various factors, and one of them is circulation. Okay, the level of toxins in the blood and other things. So increasing circulation helps the blood to carry more oxygen to wherever it's needed. Now, if oxygen in a particular region of your body is low, let's say your oxygen drops 35%. So, as you know, if your personal oxygen, somebody was to take you around the throat and strangle you, your oxygen levels would drop. If you're an MMA fan, like I am, you'll see people get a rear naked choke and they'll hold them for a very short space of time, and the person will be unconscious inside of 60 seconds. Okay, and that is because of a lack of oxygen to the brain. And if they keep that hold on, they will die shortly thereafter. So, but if our oxygen drops by 35%, the cells can no longer get enough oxygen to live. Unlike us, they won't become unconscious and die. They are able to switch the way they make energy and move from aerobic respiration to anaerobic respiration, which is to say, basically, instead of using oxygen, they're going to use sugar and a process of fermentation to make energy. Now, that's not an effective way to make energy, but it means that they will live. And when they do that, we call that cancer. Okay, so we do not want that happening anywhere in our body. We do not want our oxygen dropping at all, let alone by 35%. So increasing the circulation helps to stop that happening. Okay, so that's the second thing. So it takes more nutrients, it takes more oxygen. The third thing addresses the primary fault that we just already talked about, which is toxicity, because the increased blood flow flushes out the cells more effectively and therefore flushes out toxins. So it helps us to remove toxins, at least get them into our blood at any rate. We still have a job to do to get them out of our body after that, but that's the first step. Okay, so it's flushing out the toxins into our blood where it can now be taken out if our detox pathways are functioning correctly. Otherwise, it's going to redistribute. There are tricks to stop that happening, which maybe we'll touch on in this video. But that's what's going to happen. So it's going to flush the toxins out. Okay, so therefore, the P90 is addressing the two primary problems underlying all chronic health conditions. Okay, so this is why, and Hope's mentioned that she's posted quite a few testimonials. We see people, and we're going to be very careful making claims. So on this video, I'm not going to talk about any of the things that it does in terms of health conditions because we're not allowed legally to do that. Okay, but there's a whole, you can't really think of something that won't be helped by the helping remove toxins and helping supply more nutrients to the body and increasing oxygen. Those three things are going to make a huge difference.
It won't regrow limbs. Sorry.
Sorry?
It's not magic. It won't regrow limbs. Sorry.
No.
Like
We're talking about
something.
chronic.
Sorry.
There are some acute things that it's not gonna, you're not gonna fix, and one of them is growing limbs. You're right. Right. Okay, and so there's one more thing that it does with deficiency, which most people are not aware of. Most people are aware of nutritional deficiencies such as vitamin, or mineral or fatty acids, amino acids, these kind of things. People are mostly aware that we need a certain amount of nutrients. If we don't have enough, it's a deficiency, and that can cause problems. Most people are also aware that we can also be deficient in water. which is not technically a nutrient per se, but it's something that we need a certain amount of. And if we're deficient, then we become dehydrated and then things don't function as they should as well. So most people are aware of nutrient deficiency. Most people are aware of water deficiency, but what most people are not aware of is as important, arguably more important, is electrical deficiency. So many people are deficient in charge. You are basically a battery. Okay, each of your cells is basically a battery. Your red blood cells have a negative and a positive charge, okay, like every other battery. And they have a charge, and it's the charge that keeps red blood cells pushed apart. If you get two magnets, positive to positive, and try to push them together, you'll feel the resistance because they naturally will push apart. So our red blood cells flow freely in the fluid of our blood, which enables them to function and go where they need to go and do their job because they are pushing apart. But if you look under a high-powered microscope, you'll find a lot of people's blood, the red blood cells are no longer separate, but they're actually sticking together with what we call sticky blood. Okay, which is one of the reasons the blood flow is inhibited. Sometimes if it's sticky enough, that makes it thicker. And if you have thicker fluid, in order to get thicker fluid through a tube, like an artery or a vein, the body has to do something. And what it does is it raises the pressure. So the raising of the pressure is for a reason. It's not just randomly, oh, let's just raise the pressure. Your body is an intelligent system. It's raising the pressure for a reason. And one of the reasons is thicker blood. Okay, there's other reasons, but that's a key one. Thicker blood caused by toxicity and inflammation within the blood. Okay, and also caused by this lacking of charge in the cells. Okay, so our cells there then are batteries. Now, if enough of our cells are flat, what happens to a battery when one or two of the cells are flat? Not much. But if a lot of the cells of the battery are flat, then the battery is flat. Okay, so what happens is, first of all, some of your organs may start to be sluggish in the way they're functioning because there's not enough charge. If it's extreme enough, you as a person might not be able to function. You might be collapsing after very little effort because you just don't have energy because you have no charge. Okay, and you are basically an electrical being. That's how they read your brain with various scanners. They're reading the electrical impulses. You are electrical. And if you don't have enough charge, then you're going to have problems. So one of the things the P90 does is increase your charge. Okay, that is a massive, massive, totally overlooked thing by the average person that doesn't understand the importance of charge. And you can see the results of that charge in minutes if you look at the blood before and after, and you have sticky red blood cells. If your blood's fine, then you're not going to see that. But most people, because we are being bombarded with disruptive electrical frequencies, let's call it that, because we're being bombarded with those and other toxins and other things that disrupt all of this, most people's blood is not as it should be. Okay, most people's blood is inflamed, does have toxins, does have low charge, etc., etc. Also, lots of foreign bodies inside people's blood today. And by the way, I'm going to be very careful what I say, but this takes out the things that some people have got in their blood that you know about that I'm not going to name, but you've heard about being in people's blood that shouldn't be there. It takes that out. So, so that then is basically the three main things that the P90 is going to do. It does it very safely, very effectively. As a consequence, we're having amazing testimonials, which again, can't say here, but if you get in touch with Hope, I'm sure she'll be able to link you up and give you a little bit more information on some of the stuff and some of the clinics that use these kind of devices and what they're seeing. But again, we can't say publicly. Okay, so in my 30 odd years in natural health, a couple of years ago, I came across another product that the company does is a what we call a wand. It's kind of like a stick blow dryer where it's blowing terahertz. A couple of years ago, I came across that where it came into the market, and I had never seen anything give so many good results on so many things for so many people than this wand. Okay, and that went for a couple of years, outperforming anything I'd ever seen until the P90. And then the P90 came along, and now that's taken its place. I mean, 30 years, I've never seen anything like the wand, and 2 years later, they've beat it. And that they're beating it with the P90, which uses terahertz the same as the wand, but also, as I mentioned earlier, it uses PEMF as well. And it's a combination. It's not a PEMF device. It uses PEMF, but it also uses terahertz. You can't compare it to another PEMF device because they don't use terahertz. It's the combination together that make this so powerful. Each of them in their own right are super powerful, but combining them is what really makes this super unique and an amazing technology. It's also significantly cheaper than most of the PEMF alone devices, like the Beamer, for example, which is probably the most popular PEMF device out there. It's like 25% of the price, roughly. So it's amazing value for money as well. Okay, so that's a quick overview on the P90. Now, I think it might be worth mentioning one other thing that I like to use with the P90, and just briefly explain that and why I use that. And it's a supplement. Well, technically it's not a supplement, but you would think it is a supplement because it's a mineral that you take, and it's a mineral. That's actually it. Yeah, there you go, right there. But you don't take it like that. That's a bit chewy. Okay. So yeah. So it's a mineral, and in some regards, it's the world's worst mineral supplement. In this one regard, like 100% of the mineral will leave your body within, on average, 6 hours. So have you ever heard about the expensive urine kind of joke, which has a little bit of truth to it? This is kind of it. So it's going to be passed out in your urine, and none of it's going to stay in your body. So as a mineral supplement, it is utterly useless because you have no receptor sites for this mineral at all. And so you might be asking, why on earth would I take a mineral supplement that's going to pass straight out of my body? And that is the correct question. And so let's answer that question. So you would take this mineral supplement because you're not taking it as a supplement. It's not a supplement. It's a toxin magnet. So what it's going to do, it's going to go into your body. It's going to attract, grab, and trap toxins. And it's going to then remove them from your body safely without damage. So before I tell you what the mineral is, some people already, I know what that is, and that's great. I hope that you've heard about this mineral. But it's the single best, safest method of removing toxins from your body. And one of the things to note about it is when it grabs the toxin, it neutralizes that toxin. It's the first thing it does. So as soon as it's got it, it's now no longer a toxin. So even something horrific like mercury, which it grabs, mercury, arsenic, lead, or nearly all the toxins you can think of, this will take out. So when it grabs the mercury, it will immediately be non-toxic. Now let me explain a little bit about that. So dentists persuaded people a long time ago that it was safe to put mercury in your mouth. How did they get away with that? And they got away with that with a half-truth, which is relevant to what I'm talking about here. So they got away with that because it is true, when you bond mercury with the various metals that they bond it with in what we call an amalgam, when you bond it, it is no longer toxic. That is true. Okay, so the moment that they've bonded it with the other metals, they can put it in your mouth, it is not toxic. That's a truth, but it's only half a truth because there's another part to the truth, and that's this. That's fine and well as long as it's bonded to those other metals. But what about if the bond is broken? And you have to ask, how easy is it to break the bond between the mercury and the other metals in an amalgam? And the answer is super easy. A little bit of heat, a little bit of friction will break that bond. So the mercury, while it's bonded, is not toxic. But when you chew and you eat food and you drink hot drinks and so on, it will break the bond, the mercury will be released. And if you've ever seen the special photography where they show the release of the mercury is pretty constant, 24/7 from your amalgam fillings. I'm pointing as if I have some. I don't. But it's being released from your amalgams into your body. So if you have mercury-based fillings, you have mercury in your body. By the way, the plastic white ones that they do don't have mercury, but they have different toxins. So you're not escaping toxins by having the white fillings either. It's just a different set of forever toxins that are in the white one. So you need to research those. There's nothing good you can do really once your tooth has got a big cavity, unless you can heal it. There's no good option. Anyway, so that's how dentists got away with doing it. It was bonded, and they made out that it didn't break. They didn't really talk about it, to be fair. And so that's how they managed to get it through. Okay, so this mineral bonds the toxins, but with an unbreakable bond in terms of in your body. It is breakable in the lab setting or something, but in your body, it's not breakable. Okay, so therefore it grabs and bonds with these toxins, thereby making them non-toxic. The bond is unbreakable. Okay, and now it's going to leave your body in your urine, carrying with it the toxins. Okay, so what is this miracle mineral? It's called clinoptilolite zeolite. There's a whole hundreds of different zeolites. It's a particular one, clinoptilolite zeolite. Okay, so now the particular one I recommend, and if you're interested in knowing more about it, again, ask Hope, or if you get this video from me, you can ask me, or whoever you get this video from. Clinoptilolite zeolite comes in different sizes, and that's a really important point, because what I recommend as the prime type of clinoptilolite zeolite is a natural, because there's synthetic versions. You don't want synthetic. The bonds can be broken with synthetic, and it doesn't behave in the body the same as natural. So you want a clean, natural version, and you want it in nano size. Why in nano size? It's a little bit smaller than that. So you want it in nano size because only in nano size is it able to enter the blood. And all toxins are transported around the body in the blood. Even if they start in the digestion, they're going to end in the blood. Well, not end in the blood, but they're going to go to the blood before they're then either removed from the body or deposited in fat usually. So toxins toxins go to the blood, and then they inhibit the blood's ability to function properly in the ways I've already described. So you want to be able to pick up toxins in the blood. That's the first thing. But also the blood travels the entire body with one exception, the digestion. So if you've got toxins in your brain, for example, and many people do for a whole host of reasons, people with brain issues like autism have toxins in their brain. Aluminium is one of those toxins that has been linked, among others. Mercury is another, and it gets in the brain. Again, I'm not going into, because we have to say things that are not popular on videos. They get the videos removed. But so if it's nano, it can get to the places where the nanotoxins are getting. Okay, and we are being bombarded with nanotoxins. So you need something nano to get there that's able to remove them. And this is it. There's nothing comes close to doing what this can do. People say, well, what about diatomaceous earth? What about this, that, the other, bentonite clay, this, that, and the other? They're all fine, but they're restricted to the digestion. Okay, and we'll come to that in just a second. So if you want to do your whole body, with the exception of the digestion, you want nano. Okay, and so I'm not going to name a particular one that I recommend, but again, if you want to get in touch with Hope, she'll be able to tell you the one I recommend and give you a massive 80+% discount to try it, virtually almost free, almost just shipping, right? So that you can try it and see for yourself. I'd love to share some of the results, but as I say, can't really do that here. Okay, so now I also recommend a slightly larger zeolite, a micronized zeolite, because the nano is too small to be in the digestion. It's just going to go through the walls and escape into the blood. And you do want it in your digestion as well. So the smaller it is, though, the more powerful it is, because zeolite operates by surface area. So if you've got a rock, it's got a certain surface area, you smash that rock into little pieces, it's now got all those little pieces create a much bigger surface area. Hopefully you get that analogy, because the smaller, the bigger the surface area. So nano is much more powerful, but it's no good being super powerful if it can't be in the digestion. So you need the smallest possible zeolite in the digestion, and for that you need micronized. Okay, so I recommend a micronized, the exact same zeolite as the one that I'm talking about, that's nano, the exact same but a different size. And ideally, I like it. It comes in two forms, one neat and one with a fulvic acid. I prefer it with the fulvic acid. So it comes with fulvic acid and the zeolite combination, and that means it's not only removing toxins, but it's replacing them with minerals that are bioavailable. So I love that combination. And these zeolites work perfectly with the P90 because the P90 is increasing the circulation, which is increasing the flush, as I mentioned. And then the zeolite is picking up what it flushes out and neutralizing it so it doesn't do any damage, and then escorting it out of the body. And it works on everybody. Some people say to me, but I've got detox pathways issues, I've got MTHFR, I've got COMT, I'm constantly constipated, whatever. Doesn't matter. It's going to work as long as you pee. And I've yet to meet someone who doesn't pee. Some people can go a long time without a bowel movement, but you have to pee. If you don't pee, you're in hospital with an exploding bladder. Everybody pees. So it's going to get out of your body and it's going to carry with it the toxins. Now, when I say it works on everybody, in the same way that a magnet always picks up iron filings, you don't have to say, if I put this magnet, this powerful magnet I have here, into these iron filings, will it pick it up or not? That's not really a question you have to ask, because we know that a magnet will pick up iron filings, right? Every time. It doesn't do it 90% of the time, 50% of the time, it's 100% of the time. So it is with clinoptilolite, zeolite, and toxins. It's 100% of the time. So if you have taken this zeolite and put it into your blood or into your digestion, it 100% of the time is going to work. It's going to remove toxins. And one of the keys to rebalancing the body to the point it can self-heal is to have more toxins leaving the body than are coming into the body. So that's our goal. So what we do to do that is we try as best we can and reduce the number coming into our body. And we try as best we can and increasing the number coming out of our body. And there is nothing more powerful than using this clinoptilolite zeolite in order to remove toxins from your entire body, every last part of your body, in a very safe way. And by the way, you can use it on animals. In fact, it is used on animals in certain industries and what have you. It's also used in sewage, which is to remove toxins. It's used in industry as well. Not always the same type of zeolite that we put in our body. Various different types of zeolite can be used for different things, but the same type is used in animals. Okay, so that is my recommendation for anyone who wants to bring their body to a point of better balance so it can heal. Take pressure off the immune system, because the immune system ultimately is the thing that's going to heal you. And the main problem for the immune system is being bombarded with toxins, and that ultimately causes a suppression of the immune system. So we want to improve the immune system. There's other things we can do, not going into that on here, but the first starting point is to take some of the weight that it's having to lift off it by removing the toxins in a way that doesn't require the immune system to deal with it. Also, it's going to support the kidneys and the liver, taking weight off them as well, because they're also under massive pressure because of the level of toxins that we're being faced with. Okay, so this is going to really help. It's going to charge the body. It's going to improve the blood circulation, the blood supply, the delivery of nutrients. Just these two things together are an absolute game changer, life changer for many people. And I would love to share some of the stories. You have to talk to me or Hope. Find out maybe some of that privately rather than publicly. So there you have it. I don't know if you've got anything that you want to raise or ask, Hope, or whether that kind of covers
I
what.
just wanted to say that, thank you for explaining so clearly why this is such a very, very powerful combination to help individuals restore their health for themselves, for their family, for their furry family, for everyone. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how healthily you eat, we are, and how, what. So, for example, we only eat organic, we only clean organic, we only wash organic. We don't even let people in the house. But I can't help what's outside of my environment. I can't help what's
One of those toxins we haven't mentioned is radiation.
right.
Okay, and I just watched the film, a new film, The World is About to End Now. It's got Julia Roberts and
Oh
Ethan.
no, that's sponsored by the Obamas, by the way.
Yes. I know all of that, but it's very prophetic. It's giving us hints of what's to come. I did notice the two kids, one wearing Obey and the next one NASA, for example. So
Hmm.
there's a lot of subliminal stuff in there, but one of the things that it was radiation poisoning, and one of the kids' teeth were falling out and all the rest of it due to that. So this zeolite, one of the things that it removes is radiation. And we are being bombarded with
Being
that.
bombarded. I mean, I posted something on Facebook the other day about how I watched the movie of Marie Curie, and how her daughter found that if you take substances such as aluminium and barium, which we are allegedly being sprayed with, and you expose them to radiation, they become more radioactive than the substance you used to irradiate them in the first place. And
Right.
these are allegedly being sprayed on us on a daily basis. Now, I say allegedly, and everybody knows how to interpret that themselves. But
Yes.
so, yes, you can't get away from that. I mean, we all have special things in the house to deal with EMFs, and some people use stones, and some people use, like, I've got oh, things on the back of my phone and all the rest of it. We all
Yeah.
have protection from that, but you can't protect from what's outside of the property. And I don't want to live in lockdown for the rest of my life, and I'm sure nobody else does. So it's a very powerful thing to be able to know that you can clear these things from your system, especially what Ethan alluded to earlier, that some people have been shedding, and some people
Sure.
have put into them
And
as a means.
graphene oxide is another thing that it can remove, by the way.
Now,
Uh,
graphene oxide is a death of a thousand cuts in
right.
because of how tiny it is, and how it just cuts through everything it hits, and
Right.
has been associated with those horrific blood clots that we are seeing being pulled out of people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the,
So yeah, that's another thing that it can remove. It's almost endless. What it can remove. So I think everybody should be on the clinoptilolite zeolite that we're talking about, both the nano, and ideally the fulvic with the micronized. I mean, I know that there's a limit to how many things people can take and what happens. So that's why I say, there's costs involved, but you can try this out for next to nothing. Okay, next to nothing if you talk to Hope. Really, you can try it out.
and
But
just know
yeah,
know that we've got a way out, and as you guys all know, you know, uh, one of my premises is to help everybody out of this matrix that has been imposed on us. And those toxins and environmental issues that we are being exposed to on a daily basis is, as far as I'm concerned, a huge part of this matrix that is being imposed on us. So there is a way out, both fiscally and for your health. And this is one of those ways. We're not saying there aren't any other ways. We are saying these are ways that we have found, that we are very confident about, and happy with, and that we would use ourselves.
But I would go one step further. I would say that these two particular things, I've never found anything better in my 30 years. And I am very well networked. I talk to a lot of people, names that people would know and what have you. So I'm got my finger on the button, and I've never found anything more powerful than these two things. I've got a couple of other things that I would rate on the same level, but there's not much at this level. I mean, these are world-class, amazing products that, as I say, are life-changing and would be amongst my 2 or 3 prime things. If you do nothing else, this is what you should be doing. That's apart from eating as healthy as you can and drinking pure water and those kind of basic things that hopefully we're all
Right, and wearing 100% cotton and 100% wool, and not bringing your frequency down by wearing flamboyant fabrics and all the rest of it. So if you are in a situation where, because I'm sorry, I insulted your wardrobe. If you're in a situation, as I know many of you are, where you are saving up for the P90, you can at least start with the Nano zeolite. So, and then once you've got both,
no saving up required.
And once you've got both, the combination is incredible. So we're talking Superman levels. So if you have any questions, get in touch. But I hope you feel this has been informative. Thank you very much, Ethan.
No problem, my pleasure. Bye-bye, everyone.